Who's that guy in that old shirt? Who must be the fence expert? Who's that guy in that old shirt? Who must be the fence expert? Time to talk about the fences. It's time to discuss operations and expenses. It's time, it's really time to elevate small businesses. It's time for Joe to drop his knowledge. It's relentless. This rhyme of mine is getting a bit ridiculous. Here we go. We're live with Joe. Enjoy the show.
What is up, Fence fam? Joe Everest, the fence expert. For the next few weeks, we've got a series of interviews I think you guys are going to get a ton of value out of. We're interviewing the presidents of the regional chapters of the American Fence Association about who they are, who their chapter is, the areas the chapter covers, really what it is to be a regional chapter, and how you can get involved if you're not already. For more information, you can navigate to the American Fence Association's website, AmericanFenceAssociation.com. Look under the membership tab and regional chapters. With all that being said, let's get into the interview. All right, guys, we've got another great interview lined up for you. I spent a little bit of time talking to Kyle before the interview, and guys, you're really going to want to sit down and listen intently for this one. Kyle, for the few people out there that may not have known you yet, been introduced to you yet, maybe a brief introduction.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Joe. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be here. I am a Currently employed with Antebellum Manufacturing out of Ocala, Florida. I broke into the fence business probably 12 to 15 years ago with Ameristar. Crazy guy named Tom Legursky hired me to work at Ameristar, and I spent 8 years there. And then I went to work for a fence contractor out of Winston-Salem named Fence Builders Incorporated.
Yep.
Steve Shelton, who's also a past president of the Carolinas chapter. And then this opportunity came along, and it was a great opportunity, and I've enjoyed my time in the fence business. Previous to fence, I sold brick.
Okay.
So I was in construction, but I sold brick, and I can tell you that masons are far different than fence contractors.
Okay, you bet.
They'd as soon cut your throat than to help you out.
Really?
And that's one of the things that I love about the fence industry is, regardless of whether we're competing on jobs or not, we're still friends, we're still friendly, and we help each other out through everything. Yeah. When Hurricane Helene happened in the Carolinas, we had a lot of help from the other chapters. We've helped other chapters out, Gulf South, Midwest, Northeast. We all help each other out. We're just a big family, and that's one of the things I love the most about the fence industry.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. It's professionals helping professionals, right? In that, exactly. We might compete today during the day, but tonight we're all just regular people, and
exactly.
We treat each other how we want to be treated for the most part.
Exactly.
And I want to take a moment here to recognize you guys with the Carolina chapter. So the Midwest chapter. So I'm a member of the Midwest chapter, and we had some tornadoes come through Oklahoma, as they are prone to do. I tell you what, it was probably the day after we had gotten an email from you guys just saying, "Hey, we know it's early, but if there's anything we can do to help, all you have to do is ask, and we'll make it happen." And so we were incredibly happy to. I don't know, happy, but to reciprocate when you guys had the storms come through is, and I think that illustrates exactly what you're talking about, right? Is that, the Carolinas and the Midwest are obviously geographically very different, different parts of the country, but extending the hand to say, hey, we know you guys could use a hand possibly, and if so, we'd love to provide it. From the Midwest chapter, I want to say thank you, and we appreciate the opportunity to reciprocate.
Well, and from the Carolinas chapter, we appreciate everything too. Daniel and I have built a little bit of a good relationship, a little bit of a competitive relationship. Sure. Last year when we were the chapter of the year, every month we have a chapter presidents committee meeting, and I would start the meeting out with the cup sitting right in front of my camera.
Yes.
Now, not trying to cause any animosity, sure. But I want guys to improve their chapter. I want the other chapters to improve, and it gives them a goal and something to work towards.
Absolutely.
And it worked out. Daniel won it, and I'm really proud of the Midwest chapter and what you guys have been able to do. So.
There's some great chapters. There's no two ways about it. I mean, it's we've talked to guys from Texas chapter, Chicagoland, Shane Catton with the Indianapolis or Indy chapter. I mean, there's some guys that are hungry, and I think that's worth noting is that it is a competition. It's a friendly competition, but it's a competition nonetheless.
Right.
But there aren't any losers, right? Is because you were bettering your chapter along the way. That's how you win. Is just by bettering the chapter, by bettering the members of the chapter, that sort of thing. So even second place is still a win because your chapter comes away better and stronger for it.
Absolutely, Joe. Absolutely.
But it is worth noting that the Midwest chapter did take home the trophy this year as chapter of the year. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that.
Well, that was actually the first time the Carolinas had won the chapter of the year. Yeah. And I think it was the first time for the Midwest too.
No, Midwest has had it before. We had it 3 years ago. Oh, now I should know this as being sitting on the board, but we've had it before, but not often. I tell you, usually, Texas is a strong chapter, Florida is a strong chapter. I mean, there's a lot of strong chapters. So
there was a lot of Gulf South on that trophy too. A lot of little plaques from the Gulf South. A lot of Gulf South. Another good strong chapter.
Absolutely. So so your point though being like, hey, a win is huge. Is that you take it when you can get it, sort of thing. But,
absolutely.
So talking about Carolina's chapter. Let's talk about the who of the Carolina chapter. Who's involved in the chapter itself?
we have a lot of great members. We have a good mix of contractors versus suppliers. Okay. We also have great leadership. Not necessarily me as the president, but I've got great mentors, people like Bobby Batchelor, John McCoy, Scott Galpin, all past presidents. They're all sitting in my backyard, so it's easy to bounce ideas off of them and to grow the chapter. That's one of the things everybody talks about in the past. Oh, let's go. The Carolinas chapter is this great big chapter, and we are a good chapter, but are we the best? I don't know. That's not for me to say. We're a healthy chapter. The chapter is very strong, and we're gaining new members weekly, almost weekly. I'm getting emails on new members wanting to come to our meetings. I got one yesterday. So there's a time where we just want to grow and bring in more people. And to show the industry who we are. Yeah. We like to give back. We have a great relationship with Purple Heart Homes, who we've done. I think this is our 9th service project we just did a couple weeks ago. And they've joined forces with Military Makeover with Montel Williams. So luckily they didn't interview me. Thank goodness we're only there for about 6 hours. We had 3 crews from 3 different companies putting up 6-foot privacy vinyl fence.
Nice.
And there's the way they work together for that project and learn new things from each other was fantastic. There's no arguing, no bickering. Right. Everybody's there to serve a purpose. And that's what we're here as an association, to serve a purpose. We're trying to grow our Veterans and Fence initiative within the Carolinas chapter and our Women's and Fence, and our Hispanic leadership. We're trying to identify someone in the Hispanic community to help us grow that section of our association too.
Absolutely.
So we're always trying to improve ourselves and do better each meeting, each year.
Well, and so that's kind of a nice segue into the what. Right. Is what is the chapter about? Like, what does the chapter do? And a lot of times the what's can talk about, different events, but I think it's important to talk about the service side of the chapters, the service projects. What, if you describe what the chapter represents, what does the chapter represent to you, I guess is the question.
I think it's a commitment to service our communities. We try to find, we're required to do one service project a year, but we're always looking for other service projects. I had somebody email me from Eastern North Carolina about a service project they want us to help out with. We're going to jump on board and do it. We're trying to find more projects to do in South Carolina, which we haven't had opportunity to do a service project in South Carolina. They've all been in North Carolina. And I want to go down there and do a service projects to give those guys down there an opportunity to pitch in and help out with their community. So giving back, we make donations to other charitable foundations. It's not just the service projects. We do scholarships. We do, again, charitable donations to multiple different organizations. So we want to show that the fence industry gives back. Yeah. We care about our communities. And we just want to do better and make each community better as we serve.
Well, and just from the outside looking in, I think you guys are doing a great job, because in the industry as a whole, in the association as a whole, Carolinas consistently comes up in subject of your guys' service project, or also, to your point, the donations you guys are making to, whether it be the foundation or whether it be just really anyone that has a need. It seems like you guys come up pretty consistently for that.
We try to, and luckily we have a great board that understands that mission, and the Purple Heart Homes thing has developed into doing projects in Texas and the Midwest and up north. And as that program grows, we're going to be able to engage other chapters in Florida, Texas, so expanding that footprint with Purple Heart Homes will be crucial in the coming years.
Absolutely. Well, and to your point, also a great opportunity to coordinate with these other chapters, right? To, co-lead an event or something like that. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And Scott Galpin has been the pin that holds all that together. He really does a great job coordinating with Purple Heart Homes and the Montel Williams show. He kind of is taking over that role as coordinator. He was president when we started that, and that relationship's just continued to grow. We're going to try to bring Joe Galena with Purple Heart Homes, try to bring him to one of our events to speak about our relationship. So we're just trying to grow that exposure for us and for them as well.
Absolutely. Well, so let's talk about kind of the other side of the what. So you guys also throw incredible events, specifically Carolinas by the Sea.
By the Sea, yes,
we talked a little bit before the show of that event is always on my calendar. I've been trying to make it the last several years, haven't been able to. And I kind of told myself this year, I was like, listen, it's going on the calendar and it's going to stay unless just, I don't know, some earth shattering event comes up. Just because from what you see, whether it be on social media or just talking to other contractors that have been, they are incredible events.
They are. They're big events. We have a great attendance to that. We have upwards of 200 people, maybe 250. Next year is going to be our 50th year as a chapter.
Wow.
So By the Sea is going to be in Charleston at Wild Dunes. We've already secured our spot there. And it's going to be a party. And I want to openly invite you to come down to the 50th year.
Yes, sir.
And do your podcast from the event. Yeah. I think that would be fantastic.
Absolutely. I would love to.
I think we could run that. Absolutely. I think that'd be great for the event, for the chapter, for everybody. So we're inviting everybody we know to come to the event next year.
Well, you can pencil me in because like I said, I've told myself I've missed enough of these. I've got to go because it seems like every time fence guys get together, By the Sea comes up. If we're talking about events, and it's just like you guys are kind of the measuring stick that everyone else uses for their events. Is By the Seas. I mean, and so let's talk about the event itself, just because it is such a big event. Can you tell us maybe a broad overview of the event itself?
Sure. On Wednesday and Thursday, we run 2 education classes, typically a GAD school or fence installation. It varies from year to year on what the membership wants. We survey the membership, ask them what classes are important to them. Last year, we ran an operations class with Robert Whitaker, and that was fantastic. It was kind of a pilot program, and it worked out great. So we do the 2 education classes, either Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, depending on when we can get instructors. Friday morning is our big golf event. We used to do a tournament style thing, but now it's just more of a golf event for fun and hanging out. We had too much pencil whipping going on in the tournament. So, people trying to get that trophy or whatever. So we just turned it into more of a fun golf event. We do have our door prizes and stuff. So it's just a lot of fun. We have a putting contest on the putting green. You stop and do that at the turn and win a nice little prize there. And then Friday night's our big social event. That's where we have a big party. We get together and we have door prizes. We have a raffle, great food, and just socializing. Yeah. Just sharing stories. People coming together that don't see each other but once a year at By the Sea.
Absolutely.
So having that fellowship and that time to reflect, I think, is what's grown the event to where it is now.
Well, I'm glad you started off
on Saturday. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. No, what were you going to say?
I was going to say on Saturday, we have our infamous cornhole tournament.
Yep.
So we have custom boards made every year for the event. Last year we do 3 sets. One was our women's and fence, one was our veterans and fence, and one was just a Carolinas CFA type board. So those are highly sought after, and it gets pretty competitive at that event. So we got some ringers coming in.
We've heard.
To try to steal that. Somebody like Nick Reich, who's a semi-pro,
right?
Comes up just for the cornhole. I think. I
believe that. I believe that absolutely.
And then we have a before the cornhole, we actually have turned a brunch for our veterans and fence and women's and fence initiative. So they come together in a little meeting and talk about what we could do to help further those initiatives, and then we have the cornhole after that. Nice. And then you have the rest of the afternoon to enjoy yourself on the beach.
Well, that's the thing is in viewing years past, like I don't know how you guys keep finding like the most picturesque parts of the Carolinas to have these at, but it's like every year, like so this past was at Kiowa, and it's just like like this is the most picturesque place to have. I mean, a fencing event, right? It's just,
Yeah.
you guys are going to run out of picturesque places surely at some point, but knowing the
At
Carolinas
some
region,
point, we
maybe
probably
not.
will. We like to go back to Myrtle Beach about every 3 or 4
Yeah.
years, and that's always a fun time. But
Absolutely.
trying to spread it around between North and South Carolina,
Sure.
we try to alternate years.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So being in South Carolina, we're going to be in Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina this year, which is, kind of a special place for me because I went to school at UNC Wilmington.
Okay.
So I spent a lot of time. I was actually a lifeguard one summer on the beach there. So
you're fairly
I was
familiar.
on the swim team at Wilmington. So you wouldn't be able to tell it now.
Well,
I used to be a lot fitter,
sure.
but Wilmington and Wrightsville Beach has a special place in my heart. And being my last year's chapter president, that's just kind of special for me.
I believe it. I'm glad you started off talking about education because I think the fun aspects of the events typically get highlighted a little bit more. But you guys put on, to your point, some great education right off the bat, both in gate operator side, but also installation side.
Yeah, we do. And this year we're offering an OSHA training course.
Okay. Nice.
OSHA 10, and then we're also going to have GADS
nice
this year. And we try to do that like every other year.
Sure.
And then trade out GADS for either fence installation or one of the other classes.
Makes sense. Keep it well rounded.
Those GADS are so popular. Everybody, we always have a big turnout for GADS.
Agreed. It is
because there's always new young people coming into the industry, and they need that certification.
Well, and I think you see that industry wide, right? Is that the GADS courses are always, if not full, almost full. And just no matter where they're held, which speaks to the industry, which I'm glad for, to get young professionals in there and trained in the safe installation and operation of these systems, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Because a couple of years ago when I first started being president of chapter, it was like we were at a chapter presidents committee meeting, maybe at mid-years or something, like 3 years ago, and we're like, the starting pitchers are doing great, but we don't have anybody in the bullpen. There was no young guys coming in to take our place. And then we get people like Daniel Brown, Shane Catton, all these young guys coming in to be chapter Harrison Dover in Western PA. All these guys are exciting and young, and they bring a different enthusiasm. I'm an old guy. I don't have the energy to do what they do, but, having those young guys helps motivate me to do better as well.
Well, and you're right when you say they are fired up. They're ready to get going. And obviously I work closely with Daniel in the Midwest chapter, and we're talking about guys that have 5, 10, 15-year plans for the chapters, right? To say, hey guys, we're going to do great this year, but we're also going to plan for this being a stepping stone to get to even greater places. I think that's the most exciting part, is to see that there are plans for just really stacking solid years on top of each other.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that we stress in our chapter presidents committee, is having a plan and having a succession plan too. Yeah. So working out who's going to be following who, if elections go the way they're supposed to go, who do we want to see in that position, having that plan of who's going to take over.
Well,
we've got 3 people lined up to be chapter president when my term ends this year.
Nice.
So we've got a great plan for the next 12 years if they want to do. I chose to do my 2-year terms back to back.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I felt like, just when I was getting my feet wet after a year and learning all the processes and all the things that we do, I need another 2 years to try to implement my plan.
Yeah, to execute. Absolutely.
Which thankfully we've done. We've gone to the 21st century, and we now have a chapter website that you're going to be able to register and do everything online. Heaven forbid we do everything online now and pay.
Make it easy. Make it easy. Who would have thought?
Yeah, we were still filling out, paperwork and mailing a check in.
Right.
We growing to the 21st century is going to help us grow as a chapter, I think, because it's going to be easier for people to register.
And that's the big thing, is taking away the barrier of entry, right, or the resistance to entry, is make it as frictionless as possible to get involved. And no matter what getting involved looks like, whether it is the events or whether it is the chapter itself. So outside the events, when when do you guys meet? Is some do it monthly, some do it every other month, some do it quarterly. How does the Carolinas handle meetings?
We try to do ours quarterly.
Okay. Yeah.
So because we're always I was telling you before the show started that, we had a new member or a prospective member that had emailed me and said, "Hey, I wanted to get more information on the association and what you guys do." And I said, "Well, before you join, if you want to come to a meeting, come to the meeting, check it out." He said, "Well, he's giving some of his background. He was buying a fence company
Okay.
that was struggling. Okay. So they weren't members.
Sure.
And he said, I don't know if this will be beneficial for me." And I said, "I can tell you it will be beneficial for you, but come to the meeting and check it out." So here's what happened. Okay. It's kind of a funny story. We had booked a axe throwing event venue, right? Downtown Charlotte. And we show up and they had booked us for the wrong day.
Oh no.
So they had nobody there. So we're like, okay, what do? We got Jessica's coming up from South Carolina bringing the barbecue. So we got to have a place to at least sit and eat, right? So I walked next door to Spring Hill Suites. Said, "Hey, here's what happened. You have a room." She goes, "I got this old retail space that's empty. Let me throw some tables together and put all of your stuff out." I said, "Do it. I don't
Perfect,
care.
yeah.
Put your drinks in there." They gave us silverware. They gave us tablecloths. I mean, they made it look nice in less than an hour.
Oh, wow.
So, and then our prospective member walked in, and I told him when he got there to find me, and I told him what I would be. I work for Antebellum, just look for my shirt. And he came and introduced himself, and I introduced him around to all the other board members and a couple other people that were there. And he sat down with one of our other contractors to eat lunch. And he asked questions the whole time. I don't know that he ate. He was asking so many questions. Yeah. And our contractor sat there and answered every single one of his questions. And they're in neighboring markets. Sure. It's not like they're going to be in direct competition, but they're neighboring. And he answered every single question. And that guy came up to me and goes, "I'm sending in my check today." He said, "Because this was absolutely fantastic. Just to sit and bounce questions off different fence contractors. What do I need to do? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? Do I need to buy this program?" So just sitting down and listening to a prospective member say, "This is absolutely worth it. I'm sending my check today," that's what it's all about.
Well, I think that speaks to, we talk about a lot, the networking opportunities, right? Whether it's at the regional meetings or a fence tech or any of these educational, on the road trainings, just the networking, just a chance to be at that table and say, I think one thing that social media is great about is it shrinks the world, right? And it lets us have conversations a lot like this. And one thing we find out is our businesses are a lot the same, even if we're across the country, even if, my company's 20 employees and someone else's 120 employees, the foundations are a lot alike, right? Absolutely. How we go about it may be different, but to your point about talking about software or talk about processes or talk about culture is a big subject right now.
Absolutely.
You can find a lot of common ground. And at these events, what I've found is you can sit at any table and say, "Hey guys, here's who I am. Here's where I'm from." And everyone becomes a friend, right? Because we all understand we're in this thing together, even if we are across town, right? We're in this thing together. And by working together, we all become better, sort of thing.
Yeah.
The networking is incredible.
Well, and to that point, with this year being my last year as chapter president for the Carolinas, I'm involved in restarting the Mid-Atlantic chapter.
Okay.
Which is Virginia, D.C., and Maryland, and Lower Delaware. So I'm part of the steering committee that's bringing that together. And seeing the people that want to grow that chapter and start it, and using my knowledge of what I've gained from my 4 years as president of Carolinas chapter, and knowing what a good base is, being able to help that group get that good solid base of contractors, suppliers, distributors come together for a common purpose. So that's going to be exciting to see that chapter grow as well.
Well, I think that's a point we're talking about too, is that there are some regions, they're becoming fewer and fewer, but there are some regions without chapter coverage, right? And now it's great to hear that Mid-Atlantic's firing back up. And we've heard this several times over in the last few years of, maybe it was a chapter prior and then things just kind of got put by the wayside, but then now they're getting fired back up, or maybe it's just a region that didn't have coverage. If you're in an area that doesn't have a chapter, one, there's a good chance it can have a chapter. If there's a handful of professionals that want to come together, whether they're contractors, whether they're manufacturers, whether they're suppliers, come together, it doesn't take a group of 100 people to start a chapter, right? A handful of people.
Six is all you need to start a chapter.
But say you're in a region that doesn't have a chapter, right? So I think the point I would like to make is everyone is always welcome at these meetings, regardless of where they're coming from, regardless of their background, whether they're a contractor, manufacturer, supplier. If you're in the fencing industry and you show up at a meeting, you'll be greeted with open arms, is the point.
Well, you're absolutely right. And, we get a lot of questions about subcontractors because everybody uses subs these days. Invite them to come to the meeting. Let them know that they have opportunity there. They can meet other fence guys and talk about other things. It's just an open conversation with anybody. You don't have to be a member.
Right.
Just come and enjoy the fellowship, ask questions. And if you see it's worth your while and you want to be a member, fantastic.
Absolutely.
But come anyway.
Well, that's the thing is no one's checking membership at the door, right? No one's checking IDs at the door to see where you're coming from. Oh, now wait a minute. You're outside our area. I'm sorry, but you can't come in.
I know my members, Joe. They're not allowed in. No, that's not the case. No, we absolutely want anybody that wants to come.
Absolutely. Because again, together we get better, right? I would love to have the largest table possible filled with the most experience possible, because that makes me better as a contractor, just having, availability or having access to that group of professionals. And I feel like everyone at the table has that same feeling, at least right now in our industry of, together we're better.
Yeah, I totally agree. And even coming from a manufacturing side, being in the meetings with my competitors per se, we're all friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a small family. It really is a small family.
It 100% is. I see that all the time on the contracting side, right? Is that and we're a little bit of a unique situation. We're a contractor, but also we're just kind of a local supplier as well. And so we've got guys that come through the door that literally are our competition on the service side, right? But I think part of being a professional in the industry is also understanding, like, listen, if I lose because I've helped you, I've done something wrong. Like that's on me. That's not on you. And it's just, I think we're starting to come around to that as an industry, right? So what I've seen, so as a third generation fencing professional, I've seen my granddad in his era be very collaborative. The professionals all work together, say, hey, I don't have enough work for my guys next week. Do you have something you could put them on, or vice versa? Or I can't take care of this customer. Can I refer them to you because they've been good to me in the past? I want to make sure they're taken care of. For whatever reason, in my dad's era and the era following that, it got a little bit more closed off. It got more into walled gardens of, what's mine is mine, and my secrets are my secrets, that sort of thing. And what I feel like we're seeing in the current era is through social media, we're all talking about kind of what makes us tick and how our businesses work. And what we're finding out is the secrets that we thought were our own are very similar to everyone else's secrets, right? There's absolutely, I don't want to say there's not a completely unique way of building a fence. I'm sure there is, but they're all versions of one another, right? So
exactly.
And I believe as an industry, we're getting to that point of we're getting back to being collaborative. Now, let's also understand there's no collusion. We're very clear on this, but collaborative is fair, right? Is to say, hey, we're better together. If you've got a problem, see if I can solve it, and we see that in our neck of the woods of if one of our contractors, so one of our, direct competitors, maybe on the commercial side, says, hey, they'll call and say, hey, we're short, we got shorted this material and we really need it for this project. We're trying to close this thing out this week. Do you guys have anything? Yeah. So 6 5/8 Bulldogs is the most recent example. Like, well, yeah, I don't know why we've got a few of these, but we've got them. If you want to come pick them up so you can close this thing out, that come by, and then put some on we all buy from the same suppliers, put some on next week's truck for me and we'll call it even, and
exactly. And I have examples of the same thing. When I was with fence builders, we were doing a job at a military base out east and we were short 2 posts.
Yeah.
So I called the local Seegers branch, who I knew the guy, and said, "Hey, you got a couple posts that we can borrow? We'll bring them back to you when we get them. Come get them."
Yeah,
absolutely, not a problem. Even though we're doing a job that we were competing with them on, we bid on against them, and we won it.
Yeah.
But he's still willing to help me out because that's who fence guys are.
Well, that's right, and I think everybody knows that shoe could be on the other foot tomorrow. Right?
Exactly.
He could very well be in your backyard and need barb arms or need something like silly to where you ought to have a truckload of these things, but for whatever reason they're not here.
Right.
And I love that we're getting to that point in the industry again of
me too.
Let's collaborate because it's a better experience for us as professionals. It lets us close out projects and make progress. It's better for the clients, right? I feel like they get a better level of service if we have the solutions available for them through the collaboration. The industry itself just gets better because instead of fighting against each other, we're working with each other to find better processes, right? To find better systems and maybe better materials or just be better through competition.
I agree.
Everybody wins. And that's not only unique to the Carolinas chapter. I know that's what we're talking about today, but as an industry, in general, it just makes me proud to be a professional in an industry like that.
Well, and that goes back to the chapters and our little chapter of the year competition with everybody. We have monthly meetings and we all discuss what issues, if they're having an issue in the Gulf South that maybe we can help them on, we'll help them.
Absolutely.
Northern, Northeast, or whatever. We all help each other out, regardless of whether we're competing contractors, competing chapters. It doesn't matter. We just help each other out.
Well, at the end of the year at Fence Tech, everyone cheers for the winner, right? Like everyone stands and tries to outclap the next table, right? And or ring or the bells or the cowbells and whatever else. I think that's a great example of that. I mean, it was a fierce competition all year long, and it usually comes down to the wire. But then whoever wins, like the rest of the room stands and kind of gives their respect and their applause to that chapter. And then the next day they get right back at it. It's okay. Well, we're not going to let that happen again. Let's get back after it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, going back to Fence Tech, when Midwest won and they presented us with that check, just so you know, and the world knows, that money is going to be going to one of our members who would host our river float every year. He has a place in the Virginia mountains, and it got totally decimated by Hurricane Helene. I mean, he's got 2 little tiny homes that got moved off the foundation. There's, the power's out, all these. I mean, it's a disaster. So we had to put off our river float in July this year because he doesn't have, it's not ready.
Yeah.
He's been doing this for 20 years and never asked the association to pay him anything to come up and use his property for the river float. So we're going to put that money towards refurbishing his property and giving back to him for all the years that he's donated his property, letting us come up and invade it for the weekend and cook out and throw cornhole and maybe have an adult beverage or two.
Sure. Fencers helping fencers, right?
That's what it's all about.
And a lot of times there isn't the ask, right? Like that's kind of how contractors in general are. I feel like is I'll solve my own problems and we'll figure it out. But to be able to step up has to mean a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. It means the world to us, and it meant the world to him too. When we told him that, he's like, "You guys don't have to do that." I said, "No, we do, because you have given to our chapter for 20 plus years and never asked us for a thing. We're doing this whether you like it or not.
It's coming.
So we're just going to buy the supplies and take them up there to him.
There you go.
Instead of giving him the money, we're going to buy the supplies. And what are you going to do? Turn us around?
Bet you won't.
We're just going to show up when you tell us to be there. We'll show up with the materials, and then we'll go help you hang the sheetrock and and bring your bobcats to move your tiny homes back on their foundation and scrape up all the mud and muck from off your roads and stuff, and declare all the debris. I mean, there's microwaves and fridges and half a car sitting on his property.
It's wild.
You know, I mean, the total devastation up there was immense.
Yeah, I believe it.
And God forbid, you know, what's happened in Texas is absolutely a disaster. And you know, we got to reach out to the Texas chapter as well and ask them what they need. You know, and again, it's early, like we did with the Midwest. It's early,
absolutely,
but it's what we do.
Sure.
You know, if you guys need anything, you give us a shout.
Absolutely. Let us know how we can. We're going to help one way or the other, but let us know how it can be best used.
Yes, best suited for your needs. Absolutely.
Well, so let's talk about Carolinas. Let's talk about your guys' geographical reach. I guess it seems pretty obvious, but where does your membership reach, or where does your chapter reach?
We reach from the mountains to the beach, North Carolina, South Carolina. We have members from Asheville to Myrtle Beach to Charleston, and everywhere in between. You know, the big metropolitan areas, Charlotte, Raleigh, Columbia. That's where a lot of our members are, but we have members in the mountains that come to all of our meetings.
Excellent.
You know, and they're driving 6 hours from the mountains to Myrtle Beach or wherever it is for by the sea.
Yeah.
But they come every year, you know, and it just goes back to showing the strength of our relationships that we have in the association, and we've gotten this feeling of just camaraderie with everybody.
Absolutely.
You know, everybody's welcome.
Well, and I think that's a great segue into the why, right? Of, you know, if I'm a contractor in either North or South Carolina, I mean, obviously this is the conversation to be in. Why attend a meeting? Why attend a service project or an event? What's the why of getting involved with the chapter?
The why is the giving back. You know, we give back. There's always the education aspect of it, and we stress education at our By the Sea event. Excuse me. But the why is the giving back.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a project, if you have a nonprofit that needs a fence, let us know. You know, we want to give back. That's what we're here for. We want to give back and build everybody's community stronger.
Absolutely.
You know, so we move our events around. We had an event in Greenville, South Carolina. Our last event was in Charlotte. Then we do By the Sea, which is obviously always down on the coast. And then we have our last event in November, which is our skeet shoot, and we've moved it to Raleigh.
Okay.
You know, so we're moving around to try to bring in as many people as we can, make it as convenient as we can to get as many people there as we can. But we don't want to neglect anybody either.
Sure.
You know, we're trying to move it around to make it beneficial for everybody to come to at least one event.
Yep.
And see what's going on, and let us tell them about what we've been up to.
Well, and I feel like that's all it takes, right? Is get to one event, like you said, have a seat at the table where you get your questions answered, and you just meet other contractors that are similar to you, right? And realize that this isn't unique, right? Your situation isn't unique, that in all the good ways, right? That you've got someone here that
you're not in this fight alone.
Yeah, you've got someone here that you can rely on if you need to. I've got lifelong friends now that I've met through the Midwest chapter, right? And just whether it's we might only meet up a few times a year, right? We might see each other at we'll have a golf tournament here in a little bit, or Fence Tech, or we might meet in person only a handful of times. But lifelong friends, and I know that if I'm in their area and I need something, the answer is yes, no matter what the question is. Or if I just need, this happens more often, is if I got a question, right? I can pick up the phone to Daniel. I can shoot him a message, say, hey, can you give me a call when you've got about 5 minutes? I got a question to bounce off of you. I've got resources, and that's really the big thing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, is nobody says no.
Yeah.
You know, and we're in this all together, and it's just, I just can't explain the feeling that we have, Joe, in good terms. You know, I can't express it enough on how well this chapter runs. It runs itself. Yeah. You know, I'm here as a president. I'm a figurehead.
Sure.
You know, we divide up our chapter events. You know, you take this one, you take this one. We all work on By the Sea, and then it all gets done. Everybody's everybody's steering or rowing in the same direction.
Yeah. And that's really the analogy, right? So you're the captain of the ship, you're providing the direction, but you've got a great team of individuals that are all kind of manning their own stations to make sure their task gets done, so that the ship as a whole, the chapter as a whole, heads in the correct direction and gets there in a timely manner and in a safe manner, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then we bring new guys onto the board, which is the first time in years that we've had a full board, 13 members.
Nice.
First time in a long time. But the new guys come in, they pitch in and say, what can I do? And that goes back to that experience they've had at meetings, knowing that we're all rowing in the same direction.
Absolutely.
Let me grab a paddle and help you steer or help you row.
Well, and maybe, so I just had a conversation with Kevin in the Chicagoland chapter, and one of the things we talked about there was like, hey, and not everyone has to agree, right? Like not everyone, the most dangerous place to be is in an echo chamber, right? You need a few opposite opinions. So, I would challenge if you've got an opposite opinion, or if you've got just an alternate idea, get involved and let your voice be heard, because I think not only on the local or the regional chapters, but absolutely in national chapter, there's people that want to hear these opinions, right? That want to hear these ideas or these alternate, opinions. And the best way you can do that is by getting involved. The easiest way of getting involved is in these regional chapters.
Absolutely. And I've been watching a show at night it's an old show called House.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Doctor show.
Yeah.
And I'm on season 4, and I'm rewatching. I've seen it before, but I'm on season 4, and all of his old team left, and he's got to recruit 3 or 4 new fellows. So he's trying to find the right mix of people to build his team around, and that's what we try to do in the chapters, is to find the right mix of folks. And it's not all yes men.
Right. It can't be.
You got to have people with that alternate reality, that alternate opinion about things, so that you see all sides of the conversation.
Absolutely.
So when we make decision, we make sure it's in the best interest of the chapter.
Absolutely. Agreed. Absolutely agreed. You need these opinions out there, right? And
Absolutely.
Like I said, the regional chapters are the easiest way to get involved, or to start getting involved. And when you talk to guys that are on the national board or involved with the National Association, they all pretty much start with the regional, right? They all kind of started to say, hey, I showed up at a golf event, and then I came to a dinner, and then I got involved with the board, and then that's the easiest, like lowest friction way to get involved is show up at a meeting and say, hey, here I've got some questions, and I think what they'll find is, if the person doesn't have the answers, they know who to ask, right? Say, hey, that's a great question. I don't have the answer for you, but I can connect you with this person that likely has the exact answer you're looking for, or at least an explanation, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I started, back when I was with Ameristar, Tom said, you need to be on the board. They got an open seat. I said, okay. Didn't know what I was getting into.
Yeah.
Didn't have any idea, but it has turned into such a wonderful experience for me, being involved in the chapter, getting to the national meetings and seeing the national AFA as far as how that goes, how it works. And it just drives me even more to be involved and make a difference.
Absolutely. Because you see the difference is already been made.
So many great people, Joe, that are out there pulling in the same direction as we are.
Absolutely agree. For sure. Kyle, if someone out there has questions that maybe about the Carolinas chapter, or wants to get involved, or just wants to see when the next event is, how do they start getting plugged in?
The best thing to do right now is to go to our website, which I'm happy to announce is live.
Love it.
Which is www.carolinasfenceassociation.com. It's pretty simple.
Perfect.
We've got all our board members and all their contact numbers on there. We've got our service project information on there. We have our upcoming events on there, and just some general message board area type stuff. So check it out. Give me a call if you want to be involved. If you want to come to a meeting, you're not sure, just call me. My phone is always on. It doesn't stop ringing. So just get in touch and get involved. That's the best thing to do. That's the best way to make a difference, is to get involved.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Just get plugged in and start getting involved. Absolutely. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for making time available. I know everyone, especially this time of year, is incredibly busy. So I understand the commitment it took to kind of reserve this segment of time, and I want to say thank you for that.
Well, thank you for having me, Joe. It was a pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Of course.
It's a great conversation.
Guys, if you're watching this, you've got any questions, drop them in the comments below. Reach out to either Kyle or myself or anyone else really in the industry, and I think you'll find someone willing to help. But reach out. Please do. For now, Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors,